I'm basically moving my setup, my radio setup from an older radio to a new one, and I'm doing all the mods that I do when I'm setting up a radio, because I already know how I like it. So what I wanted to do was show you a mod that I've been doing for a while. I've been doing it even before I started flying the Taranis. I used to do it with a Spektrum radio, and it's a throttle stick mod that I do that helps keep the throttle smoother. Let me show you how it looks. So you can see there's silicone tubing in one of the little metal bars on the throttle stick. So the throttle stick has usually, there's two little bars. One of the bars is for friction, the other one is for the ratchet. So I would sometimes cut off the ratchet bar because honestly you don't need it. Well, I don't like a ratchet, so I used to just cut it off to make room, but at one point I discovered that you didn't really have to cut it off and you could still do this. See? So all I really do is I cut a little piece of silicone tubing that's used for fuel, basically fuel tubing for a nitro engine for boats or cars or whatever. Cut off a little piece, slip it on to the little bar, and then put a little bit of lubrication, and finally adjust the height to where the tension is just right. Now you gotta keep in mind that you gotta get the tension just right, because this creates something that's really smooth, but it can change with temperature, and if you don't get it just right, it can be really sticky or really loose. So sometimes I found I've had to open the radio a couple times to readjust it until it's finally just fine. And once it's fine, it stays fine for a long time. But you do have to keep that in mind. I recommend you use Super Lube, because Super Lube is actually it won't degrade the silicone. Some lubricants will degrade plastics and silicone. Today I'm actually gonna modify one of these that is gonna go into this new radio just now, and I don't happen to have Super Lube available at the moment. I don't know what I did with my bottle, so I'm actually going to attempt and do it with gun oil. I just happened to look around and I have a little bit of Hops Elite gun oil here. So I think these are okay for and safe for polymer guns. So I'm gonna think that it's not bad on plastics. And I'm not gonna use a lot of it anyway. I just want to get this done. So when you're doing yours, try to find Super Lube. Forget about this. This is just me right now because I have no other option. So let's see. Let's focus the camera in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the mod. So I already cut a little piece of silicone tubing, and this is another one I'm gonna do. It's this guy over here. Right. So first of all, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to back out the little bar here. I'm going to, this is gonna go on the one that doesn't have the notch, because the notch one is for the ratchet, which we're just gonna back out and not use. Like I said before, I've cut it. There's times I've just cut that off, but I found it's not necessary. The piece of tubing will slip on it just fine. Alright, there you go. So that's out. I'm gonna take a little piece, the little piece of tubing here, and just slip it over carefully. Let me see if I can get the camera closer so you can really see. So now we're really close. Hopefully there you can see better what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm trying to slip this on now. It's almost all the way through. There it is. You just gotta kind of center it. There. I think this is pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put some lube on it now and test the friction. So we're gonna use the gun oil I was just saying. Again, I recommend you use Super Lube, as I know it works. But given that I don't have Super Lube, I'm gonna hope this works. So I'm just gonna put a little dab of this stuff. Okay, so I got a little bit of a lube on my okay, there we go. You know what I had? I had some lubricant that's used for bike chains, the dry stuff. That might be good too. But at this point, it's too late. I already put this stuff on. So let's hope it stays clean. Let's see how it feels. There we go. It's actually not bad. Ooh. So it feels really good actually. It's just that the Super Lube is grease, so it stays on longer. I don't know how long this gun lube is gonna last. I also don't want it to be a dirt magnet. But overall, I am pretty impressed. Now here's the tricky part. This is the part where you have to really gauge it so you know that you are not making it too tight or too loose. You don't want to stick this flopping around. There seems to be like not a big sweet spot. It's just one small sweet spot where you want it. If you go too tight, it ends up getting it binds, and if you go too loose, it ends up all floppy, and you definitely don't want that either. Neither of them is good actually, so you gotta be very careful with this part. So I will take the one for the ratchet and just bring it in enough so it's not in the way. Close but not touching the metal. There we go. Now this is the one that we have to adjust. So we go in and we test it. See if it's binding. Keep in mind that it's gonna go loose over time. So the more you move it, the more it's gonna get loose. So you actually just want to have it feeling slightly taut, maybe more than you would like. You just move it a bunch of times because it is going to get looser as it breaks in. There you go. That's not bad. Just go a little bit more. Just compared to the one I had. This had been flying for a while, so this is actually tighter. I'm gonna go a little bit tighter on this. Some of you guys would want it way looser. I also found that in cold temperatures it can actually bind a little bit more, but sometimes the very first flight you go up, it feels a little bit tight, and then within a few seconds after it warms up, it's fine. But I just like the feeling of the silicone, because plastic against the metal, it's just, there's always this slightly, it's not rough, but it's this bit slight of a friction that I don't like. I like to be extra smooth, especially given the fact that this way it's super smooth. There you go. So I'm gonna call that one done. The silicone bit, it's not that important how long it is. It just can't be too short, and it just needs to be long enough so it fits there. And it's just regular silicone tubing for nitro models. And that's it. I found this mod to work. I've been doing it for a couple of years. I really like how it feels. And yeah, just give it a shot. I think you're gonna like it. Okay, I wanted to show you the innards here before I go ahead and put it back together. I've put the gimbals in, then the red race gimbals on each side because I like the short throw, and then just kind of like sprayed it down a little bit. It had some dust from the factory, but there you have it. Everything is nice and clean in here. The build quality on this is pretty good. I mean, I like the fact that all the wires are nicely twisted and everything's very, very well done. These These are made pretty well. Another tip I want to give you is these switches here, when you open the radio, they sometimes fall off. And then when you want to put it back on, you don't know which way is up. And if you put them incorrectly, then of course they will be backwards. You can fix it in the software, but it's kind of a pain because then you got to go through everything. So what I do is I put a dot. You can see there's kind of a dot there that I put with a Sharpie. That way I know that way is up. Just in case it falls off, but I put it back in, I know which way it's got to go.